And we are live. Welcome to this week's episode of the Funvee Tailgate presented by ThunderblogSports.com. I, of course, am the G-Man. With me, as always, is my boy throwing up the deuces, even though we just arrived. Matty D, what's up, buddy?
Go Flyers, baby. Go Flyers.
Go Flyers.
I'm fired up.
We're fired up. Different sport.
I know. I'm sorry. I had to throw it out there, though. I'm just pumped up. All the sports.
Well, we kind of dropped the ball. We wanted to do a hockey podcast. I realized last night I barely did any hockey prep, hence no tweet out of my picks. But right now, me and Matt doing the NFL. For those who are listening live, this is the first of two parts we're doing tonight. Those listening on the podcast, you just listened to the first part, the college football part. I'm assuming we did great, me and Third and Girl. That will be taping live in a little bit, though, so a little time travel action happening.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta fire up the old DeLorean.
Send it back.
Yeah, and there's a reference that I will have made in the podcast because Third and Girl will get it more than you will. Those that know and our Survivor fans will love it. But anyway, we're doing NFL. Me and Matty D. We missed doing the podcast last week because I had to go up to New York for a little work dinner, but. We did the written cold hard locks, first ones in a while, but last week we did a lot better in Pick'em. Interesting week overall. So some surprising games. Matt, what were your big takeaways from it?
Well, we're starting to see some teams kind of rise to the occasion, which I think is important, but we're also seeing some teams. I think some teams rise to the occasion. I thought a couple big ones for me last week that I was very impressed with. One were the Saints kind of getting on track. That was a big surprise pick for me this past. We were prefacing me, you, and the Allen himself. I think that I picked the Saints to win the NFC South. Now it's a long season. Maybe that's not going to happen anymore. But they impressed me. The Bills impressed me as well. But and a lot of you may talk about a couple other teams, but the one team that I'm really really high on, and I think I gave them. Not enough credit would be the Detroit Lions. 3-1. They go into Minnesota, take the Vikings out, who have a great defense on the road. This Lions team, they can play. They've got a great quarterback, playmakers, and a great defense. I was very impressed with them this past weekend.
Yeah, they definitely played a great game. Along with that, Amir Abdullah kind of being the guy they drafted, almost 100 yards, a touchdown, really just taking it and throwing it down the Vikings' throat, that defense that's talked about so much. It looked a lot like Amir Abdullah at Nebraska and a little bit of what we've seen flashes of in the NFL. But, we'll see how the Vikings go forward. Case Keenum has basically just been a stopper. It could have been a lot worse for them. They, of course, play the Steelers, the Lions. But Bradford was practicing this week. I don't think there's an official if he's going to play or not, but they could have an interesting run. One that I think you and I both talked about it in the locks that I was pretty impressed about. The Bengals, big win, albeit over Cleveland, but still looked great. I think they're back. I think whatever issues they had, I think they kind of figured out. You're still missing Tyler Eifert, so
right.
Give that what it is. But Joe Mixon's looking good. They have a trio of running backs that you can hand the ball off to. You go up to Buffalo this week, so that'll be an interesting matchup. We'll get to that, though, in the cold, hard locks.
Yes, sir. I also was going to say I think the Vikings, in a difficult NFC North, losing Dalvin Cook, while I'm a big fan.
We didn't even talk about that.
But Latavius Murray is coming in. He's going to be the main guy coming in now. He was kind of unused because he was similar to Dalvin, but he's a big-time back. He had a great couple years in Oakland.
Yeah.
I love that defense. You know what? I'm going to be honest, though. If I'm the Vikings – and I was talking to my dad about this tonight, actually. Would a team like the Vikings or the Broncos call up, say, a Chargers or a Saints and say, hey, what do you want for your quarterback? Think about the San Diego Chargers. They're not winning games. They did just cut their kicker, who cost them probably 2 this year. But, man, if somebody came to the Chargers with the right offer for Phillip Rivers, would the Vikings or the Broncos? Maybe they won't go to the Broncos because they're in the same division. But will one of those two teams maybe want to make an offer like that? Because the Vikings with Phillip Rivers on them, they're more than a force to be reckoned with. And I'm not trying to put down Sam Bradford.
Phillip Rivers to Stephon Diggs.
Oh
Could you
my gosh.
imagine
I
that?
mean, Stephon Diggs has been nothing but a superstar so far this year.
With
I
Sam
mean,
Bradford and
you're
Case
right.
Keenum.
Right. I mean, he reminds me of DeAndre Hopkins, right? Hopkins has had great seasons without a great quarterback.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a
very
good play.
impressed with him. I also thought, I mean, I was disappointed though in a few teams. The Falcons really let me down. I'm not saying the Bills are a garbage football team, not at all. But man, you can't lose at home when people are talking about how you guys are the best team in the NFC. I thought that was really poor by them. I also thought the Jaguars had a real chance to kind of lock themselves in as a surprise team, and they lose to the Jets. And the Jets have won 2 games. What are they doing? They're supposed to be losing, but very disappointed in them as well.
Goddamn Jets.
Yeah, I really thought they're the one team that I think really you have to scratch your head with would be the Baltimore Ravens. Not that they lost to the Steelers or that they were supposed to be really good, but the Steelers are one of their biggest rivals, and you lose 26-9 at home.
Well, 2 straight weeks of just shit play. I know one's London, so you have to kind of almost think of that as a Thursday night game, but still, what is it? 9 points, 2 weeks. Joe Flacco had a little bit of a rebound week, but still, I mean, that's off barely double digits if you even got there in London.
Yeah. If you can't wake up for the Steelers on your home turf, it's one of those weird teams where what do? What changes do you make? You've brought some veterans in. Your defense is supposed to be really good, but your defense, they can't withstand 35 carries from LeGarrette Blount and the poor play of Joe Flacco. So I don't know what the answer is there at Baltimore.
You mean Le'Veon Bell?
They're Le'Veon Bell. Excuse me. They're 2-2. It's not like their season's over. But I was really disappointed. I'm a believer in that defense, and I hope they can figure it out on offense. They need to start looking like a team that knows their defense is good and kind of battle through it.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's a ton of 2-2 teams in the AFC. So by no means is any of this really out of the question. I mean, we're almost seeing a lot of kind of everybody's shuffling around in the middle. A couple teams are up there. The Chiefs, they're 4-0. I mean, the Patriots are 2-2. Even in the NFC, the Cowboys are 2-2. A lot of people thought they could jump out big.
Right.
Dolphins at 1-2, but again, London, and really, I mean, Jay Cutler kind of proved what he's in for on that wild card, the Wildcat play.
Right.
But a lot of teams at 2-2. I mean, including the Jets. That kind of puts it, put a stamp on where we are in the quarter mark. Nothing against the Jets, but we all know where this is heading towards. So, we'll see how it all ends up. I mean, not a ton of divisional games so far. Obviously, the ultimate separator and not the ultimate equalizer,
right?
If you will, in terms of where the records and how teams fall, but definitely a lot of bunching up in the middle and teams kind of itching to jump ahead of one another.
Well, I mean, I think it shows you the fantastic parity that I don't think you see in enough sports. I think football is one of the kings of this. I mean, and I'm not bringing down other sports, but you look at, say, maybe baseball to an extent. Not really the NHL. They've always been good with the parity, but college basketball has been this. I mean, the NBA has been this way.
Yeah.
This league is not a top-heavy league. Now,
the
best quarterbacks tend to rise to the top, Rodgers and Brady. There's those teams, but they're generational players, but those teams don't win it every year. I think you're just seeing a lot, and I think you're seeing teams learn to win in different ways, which is impressive. If you would have told me that the Bills were going to be 3-1 and the Jets were going to be 2-2 by week 5, I would have laughed. I would have laughed you out of the building. And here they are, the Bills leading the division, the Jets out of nowhere looking like a decent NFL football team. It's impressive to me. That it also shows you the coaching. I mean, these coaches put a lot of time and effort into their game plans, and game planning is huge. And don't undervalue, a decent coach. I don't want to say a great coach because I like Sean McDermott up in Buffalo, but I'm blown away by the Bills being 3-1. I don't like. What do they have really? Their defense was supposed to be bottom half, and their offense was supposed to be kind of rebuilding itself with no wide receivers, and they're here at 3-1. I'm impressed.
Well, 3-1 with the Dolphins were the ones that lost to the Jets. Yeah, I mean, you could make the argument with Atlanta that they played pretty shitty. But yeah, they've done a good job at it of kind of putting themselves in the right spots. A guy who I honestly wouldn't have thought he'd be even anywhere close to what the outcome or the output we're seeing from him is Charles Clay.
Yeah.
Doing a great job at tight end. He's a guy that's been kind of up and down, sometimes a good fantasy pickup for really just, and he's been surefire for the last couple of weeks. Got over 100 yards, I think, again, and I mean that in 2 straight weeks. This past week with 112 and just 5 catches. So, I mean, there's one right there for that Buffalo team and where they are. And the Rams, them coming into Dallas and really picking up the win. Jared Goff looking like a number 1 draft pick. And I think that's big.
I was going to say, if you want to talk about a potential statement game, now that win last week was good, but you're going to bring in the Seahawks, who have really been the team of the division for the past 5-6 years. They're going to come visit the Rams this coming week. I don't want to jump too far, but that's the kind of – I think the problem with the Rams, and I really love this team. The defense looks fantastic as expected. Aaron Donald is a superstar. Can Todd Gurley, who right now might be matching Kareem Hunt for best running back in football at the moment, sustain the amount of touches and activity in a game that he is sustaining. And I hope he can, because quite frankly, he's fantastic. But something that I'm definitely interested in seeing how much he can hold up. Now, he's never had injury issues once he got healthy coming out of college, but still, I mean, I think that's something you'd want to watch without a doubt. So, I was going to also mention, I thought that there's a couple teams that have really, I don't know, disappointed isn't. I mean, we talked about the Ravens a little bit, but I was going to mention the young teams that kind of they ride high and then crash low, and the two that I thought of were the Titans and the Raiders.
Yep.
I mean,
I was going to say both have had kind of a rough go at it. Unfortunately, again, the Raiders losing Derek Carr, at least for the time being, and Marcus Mariota, I think, was practicing this week. I think he's questionable for Sunday. But we'll see. We'll see how they go. But you're absolutely right. They're young teams, a lot of young talent. Even their vets, at least on the Oakland side of it. Michael Crabtree's a maybe. He got cleared this week. I think he's going to play, but even though there's no more Q next to his name on the fantasy lineup, you still gotta wonder how he's going to perform this week.
Right.
And it's an interesting start-'em sit-'em debate that you can have really leading up until that game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and I think that's really tough. And this is what's so impressive about young quarterbacks who consistently win, and how hard it is for teams to come up week in and week out. These, like the Titans, throttled a couple and they go in and they get thumped by the Texans, and it makes you appreciate the talent of some of the great quarterbacks in the league that are consistently doing as needed. But I mean, if Derek Carr's injury is going to hurt that team, because E.J. Manuel is not a great backup. And I'm concerned about the Raiders. I don't think their defense is as good as advertised. I love Khalil Mack, don't get me wrong. And if the Eagles can trade for him, let's do it. But I don't love that defense. And I don't know if Marshawn Lynch can do it all by himself anymore without a decent passing game. And I'm pretty ticked off because I've got Amari Cooper, and he looks terrible too in a couple fantasy leagues. To me, they've got much more of an issue than the Titans, simply because that division might be the best division in football, the AFC West.
Yeah, it's been definitely what you and I talked, or you, me, and Alan talked about in the preview of that it could go any which way on how it's been going. I have, of course, picked the Raiders to take the division, and that's not looking so good right now. But they come into Denver, risky game for me to pick. Bad one. Bad loss for me, but they've been up and down, and that defense hasn't been as impressive as it once was. But definitely in an interesting spot, and it's kind of rings back to those mid to late 2000s NFC East divisions where really you got into the start of the season, and there's one team, usually the Redskins, who would fall early, but the other three, it was kind of who's gonna who's going to outlast the 17-week brawl and win the division, let alone make the playoffs? Because I think there was numerous occasions where all three did. But yeah, I mean, I couldn't be more excited to watch the NFC East and how it all has been going, and we're sitting pretty right now.
Well, I got to ask you, what has surprised you most this year about our Eagles?
That's a good question. I would have said, looking just more recency bias at how great LeGarrette Blount was against a Chargers defense that you might want to think could have posed a serious threat for them comparatively to who they faced. Really, Kansas City might be one that you thought would hold them up a ton. Carson's looked great, and I've been pretty bullish on it. We've talked about my conversations with my Cleveland friends about him, but yeah, I mean, I the thing that I'd probably say, it doesn't surprise me. It still just disappoints me that they haven't addressed it a ton. Is the secondary just still is their Achilles heel, and you saw it with even the formerly San Diego Chargers taking advantage of it with the gunslinger, the gunslinger that is Phillip Rivers. And on a good passing team, it'll be interesting this weekend with a team like Arizona that has really just next man up type of wide receiving core that could just really run over them, quite literally run and throw over them, and see how it all goes. But I mean, I couldn't be happier with a 3-1 pick, or 3-1 start
record, yeah.
3-1 record. Thank you. And Arizona coming into town, it'll be an interesting game this weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is a tough game. I don't think anybody needs to overlook the Cardinals ever. Not with Larry Fitzgerald, not with that defense, which I don't think enough Philly fans are aware of, how strong that Cardinals pass rush is. Chandler Jones, Golden, Patrick Peterson on the outside is probably going to eliminate Alshon Jeffrey from the conversation. And Tyrann Mathieu will be down in the slot doing a lot of things.
I was about to say, their secondary is going to cause a lot of problems.
To me, this is a low-scoring game, and I do think the one positive for us is this offensive line for the Cardinals has looked really poor. They want to have that downfield passing game, and without David Johnson, that'll limit them to some extent. I would say, though, I think the one thing that's really surprised me in a good way for the Eagles has been the play of this linebacking core. And I have been blown away. To me, Jordan Hicks looks like an all-pro at the middle. Playmaker, always in the right spot. Nigel Bradham does not get, to me at least, the press that I think he should get for what he does, both stuffing the run and being a playmaker. And Michael Kendricks, he's a fascinating player because in today's world, you really don't need three. You need two great linebackers because you play so much nickel. But having somebody like Michael Kendricks who can come in, for 50, 60% of the snaps and make the plays that he has made, I've been blown away by this linebacker core. I don't know if they get the praise because everyone watches the defensive ends. They watch the cornerbacks get burned. And I don't put it all on the cornerbacks. You've got a second-year, seventh-round pick and a rookie starting on the outside right now. That's difficult for any team. But I've been definitely impressed with the linebacking core and our ability for our defense to they need to clean up the big plays. We're one of the worst teams in the fourth quarter. A
lot of big plays.
Yeah. Now, part of that's the youth, part of that's communication. So we can see them kind of clear that up, though. I would be impressed. This defense to me looks like it's good enough to drive us to the playoffs. I don't know outside of that, but at least in the playoffs to drive us a little farther.
So let me ask you this. Do you think no matter what, they're not a team that gets a bye? They're first round, they're either a wild card or division winner, but 3 or 4 seed.
I would say that. I think the one thing that you have to be, you have to look at least is the rest of the division. And I think, there's a couple teams to me that really stand out. The Packers being one, the Lions being one.
Yeah. But they're in the same division, so they can't both take 1 and 2.
No, that's true. Although I do have to say, when you look around, and we're week 5, so we're not that far, but when you look around the leagues, I think the one thing that to definitely note is this. Is there a team that has a stranglehold on a division And
No.
normally I would have said the Seahawks, but we've seen the Rams and the Cardinals are 2-2, but we've seen them not play as well.
Yeah. I was going to say, even with the Rams, even if they weren't 3-1, the Rams have played so well against the Seahawks in the last 4 years that's even like the Seahawks kind of stumbling a little bit. That's the perfect opportunity with a Rams team that started hot. I'm not saying Jared Goff's going to come out this weekend and throw for 1,000,000 yards, but you never know. That team plays really well. Todd Gurley, if he sets it up and spreads the ball out or enables them to spread the ball out, that'll be a fun game to watch.
No, without a doubt. I just think, I mean, I guess you have to judge it on, is there a team out there that we think is going to be dominated division in the NFC? And I thought it was going to be the Seahawks. I really did. But simply because the rest of the division I thought was going to be that poor. We've seen the Rams and the Cardinals play well. The NFC South looks like a bloodbath.
I was about to say the NFC South, holy crap, that is not nearly what I thought it would be. Even Atlanta, who, for all intents and purposes, is 3-1. I mean, the Bills' loss is their first one, but they didn't look good. No. We'll see how it all goes. Everything that happened with Cam Newton this week, and he's a little bit banged up anyway. Mm-hmm. We'll see how it all goes. But yeah, that division, I would have thought, they could be battling for 2 wild card spots, and we talked about that a little bit to begin.
I don't want to overhype the Eagles because I love so much,
I don't either.
But they have holes. But I also don't want to discredit them and say that there's no way they could have a bye. I don't want to say they're going to, because that's not right. I do think they have a clear chance to win this division.
Sure.
The Cowboys play 6 more games. 6, that's a 6. 6 more games out of their time zone. That affects teams. They've got some road trips to handle. I think there's a chemistry issue there, especially offensively. The Giants look terrible. I don't think the Redskins, they're a good team. But they've lost some games they should have won, maybe even this past Monday night against the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I think we have a great chance to win the division, assuming we continue to play football like we're playing it.
Yep.
Running the ball, balanced offense, defense that's bending. We need to remove the big plays. We can't be giving up those big plays, but we need to win the turnover battle, and we've been doing it.
Yeah, they did a great job of that last week against San Diego. We'll see how it goes this week with Arizona, but definitely an interesting one to boot. You'll be down there as per usual. I'll probably be just chilling here, depending on how my Saturday goes. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Let's move on though, right to our pick'em, the Cold Hard Locks, as the fans know, the fan favorite for our football coverage. Interesting week for us last week. I got 8 points. I actually, we both rebounded from our abysmal week 3. Right. You did pull away. Matt now up at 2-0-2 on the season, this young season. The kid's been down before, so we'll trust in the process here. Not giving up yet. We'll go right into the Thursday game where right now at the 2-minute warning, the Bucs came in at a 5.5-point underdog at home against the Patriots, losing 7-10. Matt, I took the Bucs here. I think that, and I was saying to one of my coworkers who's a big Patriots fan, I'm a little bummed that this isn't a Sunday game, because this could have been an awesome 425 game to lead us right into Sunday Night Football. The Joe Buck and Troy Aikman game. Even it's, I guess it's an AFC away game, so we get Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. Have we gotten Tony Romo calling Tom Brady play yet? That seems like the ultimate. So.
That would be truly.
That seems
truly fascinating to me.
Yeah, that'd be the kind of the ultimate there. Yeah. But yeah, kind of back to my pick. I just think Tampa Bay 5.5 points at home. A Patriots defense that's looked very shaky. The offense is clicking; they're getting it going, but do they pull away from it? Can Jameis get it going? Thursday night's a wonky game. I tried to use this with the Bears last week. They were on the road, of course. But the home game, home dog, gotta love it. No,
I mean, I understand. I still went Pats. you piss them off, and they tend to drive.
Belichick. It's
So I
Belichick.
had to take them to cover. They're driving right now, by the way, so it's kind of biased for me. But my boy, my boy, my
The
boy.
man
Got to
crush.
open this game up soon. So I took the Patriots in this one to cover. I think they're going to end up whipping this team. This Tampa Bay team better watch out. They're going to start to crumble amongst each other if they're not careful.
Yeah, that's very true. Deshaun's had kind of a interesting way of getting acclimated to the team, and we'll see if he stirs things up quite literally. But moving on, first game I got on the 1:00 slate, the Buffalo Bills coming to Cincinnati. I flipped them earlier. Cincinnati hosting the Bills, 2.5-point favorite against a 3-1 Bills team on the road. I think this one is a layup. I think it's a really bad line to the Bills. And that's what I'm going to go with. And right now, ESPN has 70% of people picking Buffalo. Don't have the Vegas numbers, but what do you got?
I got to tell you, I like this Bengals team. There's finally a little fire underneath of them. I think they've got a really good offense and a better defense than people think. They got off to a rough start. Andy Dalton's kind of weathered the storm, and I think the Bills are a little overhyped. I gotta go Bengals here. I'm gonna go against you. So I'm going Bengals to cover that 2.5 because it's basically 2.5.
Yeah, it's a field goal. Yeah,
a field goal.
It's a home team at discount.
And I'm picking them also because they're the home team. But I like the Bengals this week to start off early and steal a win.
Okay, all right. I can certainly see that. Yeah, I went Bills as I said. I think we'll see how they go.
Love Sean McDermott though.
Yeah, he can draw it up. The toilet bowl game of the week is the next one we got. The New York Jets traveling to Cleveland, and I think for the second week in a row, the Cleveland Browns are for the second time is in 3 weeks because the Browns were home favorites against the Indianapolis Colts 2 weeks ago. They are home favorites against the New York Jets, 1.5. You got to think it's the Jets to go above 500 for a team that a lot of people were thinking could go it, but I'm actually going to take the Browns here. I think the Jets, they sort of run out of magic, and maybe they realize that they should be tanking. And surprisingly, I'm taking the Browns. They got to win one game.
I am so with you there. This is their shot. There's so much to like about this Browns team. There's nothing more in football outside of an Eagles championship and a Carson Wentz statue outside the stadium than a Cleveland Browns team to be good again. And I don't mean good like Derek Anderson, Braylon Edwards 1 year good. I mean like I want this team to be back. They deserve it, and I hope that this is coming for them. I do.
Yeah, it would be nice to see. It'll be interesting to see how it all goes for this game. Catch that one surprisingly on Fox, a game between two AFC teams,
right?
Shockingly. But moving on, another game on Fox on the 1:00 slate. The Detroit Lions hosting the Carolina Panthers. Both teams in 3-1, basically a pick 'em. Detroit -2.5. I am going to go with the Lions. We talked about Cam Newton being a little banged up coming into the week. And I like that Lions defense. They're surprisingly doing well, and I think they can contain that Carolina offense a little more than we might expect.
You're a smart man. Carolina's a good team, but I love this Lions team. They've got some moxie to them. Stafford leading that charge, and it's a way for the Panthers as well. Well, I love a lot of that team. I'm going Lions as well to cover. I got to tell you, you look over these games, there's a lot of games that are really close. I mean, and this is one of those games. Two good teams, 3-1, trying to make a statement. I think you got to go Lions, though. I'm with you. You're right. That defense, great pass rush,
sneakily good,
and you know what? They're playing as a unit, which is really important.
Yeah, that's certainly it. It's a great point. Great way to put it. But moving on.
I was going to say, is your next one another toilet bowler?
I had that's 2 picks for me, but we can go right into it. You talking Niners Colts?
Yeah, I was thinking Niners Colts. I was wondering how you felt about this game. I think this is a fascinating game to me. I went Niners to cover. I think they squeak one out against a Colts team that is struggling without Andrew Luck. And not that Jacoby Brissett is anything bad. I think it's one of those games where the Niners need a win. I know they're on the road, but they need a win. And I think this is one of those ones where they get one.
Yeah, so it's interesting. You have two teams that are combined 1-7 coming into this game. Not very good defenses. Can't really run or can't really defend the run very well. Not really the best quarterbacks. I agree with you. I'm going San Francisco just because they have a better quarterback. Although Frank Gore goes off and isn't incredibly old, as he sometimes can play like, that could be a Colts win. You can see why they're the hometown favorites.
Right.
But, I got to go San Francisco as well. The next one I had was Tennessee at Miami. Tennessee, a road 2.5-point favorite. This one is intriguing because Marcus Mariota, you're not sure. Do we have an update? Is he going to be playing?
Yeah, as far as I saw last, questionable.
Yeah, that's what I saw too.
Yeah. Tell me you did what I think you did. Did you swing it? Did you change it up on me?
Yeah, I'm gonna swing for the fences here. Gotta make something interesting. I'm gonna go Miami. Jay Cutler, he's the big swinging dick down there. We'll see how he slings it with them.
So I got to tell you, I actually went the same way.
Yes.
I mean, this is assuming, roll the dice with me. This is fully assuming that Mariota is not healthy.
Yeah.
There is a ton of talent though on that Dolphins team, which is it's mind-boggling to me. There's so much talent. But yeah, I don't think Mariota, even if he plays, is going to be the same quarterback. This has been his problem since he started in this league. And so I'm very concerned with him long term. You've got to be able to stay healthy in this league, and he needs to start staying healthy in this league.
Yeah, the one thing that could be interesting is if he is not totally healthy, seeing him as a more pocket quarterback, because that's
right.
Basically the way to circumvent the way he plays. But the way that he utilizes Delaney Walker against this defense, he's been one of Mariota's best friends since he came into the league in now his third year. Look out for him to potentially have a big game against Miami. Either way, the guy kind of fits in with that flow very well. The running backs, though, too, with Tennessee could be interesting, but that Miami defense could surprise some people.
Right. I'm with you, and I think this is one where the Dolphins could steal. They should win at home. To me, I don't love this line, but Mariota didn't really practice. They're very hesitant, and my concern is, I'm gonna be honest. If you're the Titans, you're playing in a division that I don't think is really, really strong. Right, 1-3 Colts. You've got the fading not the Cardinals, the Jaguars at 2-2, the Texans at 2-2. Do you really need to play Mariota this week? If you think there's any chance that his injury issue could be higher, I wouldn't even play him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Keep him healthy. Figure it all out. Especially not in a division game, but interesting play in general. But we'll see how it all goes. Moving on, 3 more 1:00 games. Next one I got is LA coming back east, face the Giants. Somebody's going to get a win here. 0-8 combined. I'm going to take the Giants. Mainly just because, and you hear this a lot, and it's the old adage of traveling across the country. For whatever reason, West Coast teams struggle more than their East Coast counterparts of going east versus East Coast teams coming west. New York, you got to think that it's all going to come and click at some point. And it really hasn't. So, somebody's been off on a different plane, if you will, of consciousness of how that team just hasn't been able to put something together. They got close against the Eagles last week. Was I don't know how to compare it to the Eagles game, but I think this is where they finally get it done. I don't know necessarily if it's a bloodbath. I think it could be close, but I'm going to go Giants. Do they cover? Yes, I think they win by a touchdown.
I like it. I like it. I just think, first of all, it's just like the most fun dumpster fire game of the week. 2 0-4 teams, but there's so much intrigue here.
2 teams everybody thought was going to be good, too.
Well, not even good, but just especially the Giants. Yes, I also think the Chargers thought that they would be more competitive. Although, once again, they should probably be 2-2.
Yeah.
I mean, their field goal kicker gets one blocked and misses one. I think I took the Chargers here.
Okay.
They're a weird team because I don't know why they're bad. Like when you look at the roster, you look at the positional players, you think to yourself, how is this team 0-4? They've got a great quarterback, quote unquote, a great running back. They should have a great receiving core. Offensive line, there's something to be desired there, but it's not the worst in the league. They've got some playmakers on defense, some pass rushers, and yet they're 0-4. There's something missing there from that team, but I do think they take out a Giants team that personally I think they've got some serious problems, and I think it starts with their quarterback. Eli Manning has not looked, to me, particularly sharp. Now, the team around him hasn't helped him, but the defense is pretty darn good. And so I think he's made some – he needs to pick it up. The whole offense cannot be Odell Beckham Jr. And I'm concerned. This team is not good. And I'm taking the Chargers here. I think Phillip gets one done with that gunslinger mentality in a fascinating matchup of the first and second picks in the draft.
Yeah, very true. The what would have been bowl. But we move on to our birds against the other birds. The Philadelphia Eagles -6.5 at home, hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Very intriguing matchup. We talked about this a little bit before. That 6.5 is a weird line for me. The Eagles were 5.5, I think, hosting the Giants, and they won on that last-second field goal from Jake Elliott. I almost called him Jake Allen. Been watching too much hockey. But yeah, I'm going to go Cardinals, but I think the Eagles win. So Cardinals with the points is what I'm going to take. I
agree. I like Cardinals with the points. Eagles win the game, by 3-4 points, something like that.
Yeah.
This Cardinals team, I really like this team. I like everything but Carson Palmer, really. Mostly because he's just so immobile at this stage in his career. But so I like the defense. I also don't think the Eagles, as good as I think, as well as they've played to win games, I don't think they're that kind of team that just blows teams out of the water. So
yeah,
I'm with you. I'm going Cardinals cover, but Eagles win.
Yep, that's a good way to put it. Next one I got, last 1 o'clock game, Jacksonville Jaguars +8.5 at the Steelers. That's a lot of points for a Jaguars team that, really, we talked about it before, could have done something last week, lost to the Jets. I think you're giving the Steelers extra points on that. This Jaguars team did some serious damage over in London. I think it's just a lot of points. I'm going to take the Jaguars with points. I think they do still lose in the Steel City, but that's just a ton of points to give up.
No, that's a decent amount of points. I just love the Steelers at home. I think Big Ben plays better at home. Le'Veon Bell is starting to get into a groove, which should scare teams. And Antonio Brown, after his frustration, I do think he bounces back in a big way. So I will take the Steelers to cover there. So a little bit of an intrigue for us point-wise. I also think the Jaguars, as much as I love their defense, their offense might start to come back down to earth. And this Steelers defense can straight up play.
Yeah, they can. That's a really good point. It's a very good defense. The steel curtain, if you will. Not as good as the steel curtain of old, but
I was going to say it's much more of a speedy defense. Ryan Shazier, TJ Watt, Bud Dupree, they can fly around the football field these days out there.
They can do some serious stuff. But that's really the only wacky line this week.
Yeah, I would say that and the Eagles line is a little strange to me.
Yeah.
Mostly because you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be just trying to beg you to take Arizona or beg you to take the Eagles. But, the lines are always a little intriguing. But next one I got, Baltimore Ravens traveling out to Oakland +3.5 as the Raiders are the home favorites. Derek Carr not playing, so I'm going to go with the Ravens here.
Yeah, are you surprised by that line like I am?
I am, actually. Yeah, no. I mean, who's their backup? I should know this, but I don't know who's playing quarterback.
EJ Manuel.
That's right. I
don't even understand this line. I know the Ravens have looked terrible, but the Raiders, I don't care where they are. The Raiders without Derek Carr, EJ Manuel to me is a is a poor quarterback in the
Yeah.
league. I've never liked him. I didn't even like him out of college. He was, by the way, he was the first quarterback taken in his draft. He was like 17th or something like that out of Florida State. I think this game is. I think the Ravens are going to get back on track, and they're gonna kind of bludgeon this Raiders team this week.
No, that's a great way to put it. It's going to be an interesting game. Interesting game, but the next one, we've talked about it a lot. We might as well finally make our pick on it. Seattle Seahawks plus 2.5 traveling to the Coliseum to face the Rams. Really, really intriguing line. Matt, take it away for us.
I am going all the way Seahawks.
Okay.
I think they've turned a page. This defense is fantastic. No defense that Todd Gurley and Jared Goff has seen looks anything like this Seahawks defense, who have started to come together. I think they pull one out. The Rams have historically, past couple of years, played the Seahawks really tough and won, but they've always been poor. Now they're good. I think this is one of those cases where a young team takes a step back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the line. I mean, I have a 1-point line as far as I can see. To me, it's a toss up essentially.
Yep.
But I think the Seahawks win. But hey, you may think differently.
So I don't. I also think the Seahawks. I think this Rams team kind of finds its level. I think this is an interesting way for them to come out. But I think just like the LA crowds, I don't think the Rams show up to this game.
Yeah, I could see that, right? I could completely see that happening.
I'm surprised they're a favorite, to be honest. Like I could see them being a minus or plus 2.5 at home, but I don't know. Maybe you're just thinking they just beat the Cowboys, so they're trying to get some intrigue on this game.
Yeah, I mean it's a fascinating game, and I do think the Rams look better. But I will say though, the one thing that's really worried me about it, if you're a Seahawks fan, it's been their pass rush has looked really bad.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett, Frank Clark, Sheldon Richardson. That pass rush should be better, and they have not been. So
you're absolutely right. It should be a lot better.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens there in that regard. But it should be a really good game, and the 4:00 games are great because the next one we're going to talk about, I think, is one of the most important games of the week, and that's the Packers visiting the Cowboys.
Yep.
I've got it at 2
I think this is
go ahead.
Incredibly intriguing. You got it at -2 for the Cowboys. I have it at 1.5. Same difference basically, because that's incredibly hard to push.
Right.
But yeah, it's definitely a interesting game. You would have thought that maybe both of these teams could have been 4-0 coming into it, especially given everything that the Cowboys ended up getting away from. Yeah, I mean this is a great game. I think easily one of the best games of the week. It's a reason why it's the 425, the Joe Buck, Troy Aikman special, even though it still kind of bugs me. Troy Aikman gets to call Cowboy games. It's a little weird.
I understand, although I've never really seen him typical.
He's not really a homer. It's not Tim McCarver like as another Joe Buck partner, but
and Kirk Herbstreit does college football, and he's a big.
Yeah, he's a big OSU guy. You're right.
But he never. Right. If I didn't know that, you'd never know, right? He does.
That's really very true. Yeah, you had no idea. I'm trying to think of. You could say that about Joe Buck with the Cardinals, and he's a self-admitted Cardinals fan. Tim McCarver was the same way when he was still doing games. That's baseball, of course. I can't think of anybody in football really on a national scene that really favor one way or the other. That's the one thing about Joe Buck that you can at least give him with football is that he does a stand-up job, even though he can sometimes seems like he has a little bit of favoritism one way or the other, and you kind of figure out who he wants to win, but not really that bad. It's not as bad as him doing baseball.
No, I agree. I definitely think it'll still be. This game. There's so much layer to this game, but I think the big thing is how do the Cowboys respond? Because a great team responds to a great game. And I'm concerned, if I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm concerned about them. So we'll see what happens.
Okay.
But I'm taking you can never pick against Aaron Rodgers. So I'm taking Aaron Rodgers to cover
On the
here.
same boat.
Yeah, I think they pull it out.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It depends on, obviously, not actually obviously, who plays with Aaron Rodgers, but he does a lot of what Tom Brady can do. He makes a lot of players around him look great, and I think that he can do the same thing no matter who's actually in for them. Obviously a lot of different injuries going around, but
although they might all play though.
Yeah, they might. Shockingly, they might all
Right.
play. But yeah, and if so, I mean, expect it to be almost kind of like the Eagles with Donovan McNabb, where he would pass to like 8 different people. We see that a lot with Aaron Rodgers anyway, but it really, if they're all playing, expect a lot of rotations, a lot of different people getting involved, nobody really being the favorite target of the week. And if so, you're not getting as many as you might expect out of the true favorite.
Right. And I mean, it's a great game. I think the 4:00 slates are fantastic.
Right.
I don't know if I love the night games, but I think the Sunday night football game could be interesting. Chiefs visiting the Texans. Chiefs pulled one out last week, so definitely exciting. They're a 1-point favorite on the road, which I know the Texans have looked good, but I'm still surprised that the undefeated Chiefs are only a 1-point favorite. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do think so.
Yeah, it's one of those where you almost think they give the home team like an extra couple points for being at home.
Right.
A lot of it too. Deshaun Watson looked great last week. And I took a big dice roll against you in fantasy and picked him up because Kirk Cousins is on a bye. So we'll see how that goes. And I don't think it's influencing my pick because I love that Texans defense. I think if anybody's going to stop Kareem Hunt or at least show that he is human, I think J.J. Watt, Jadeveon Clowney, and the rest of that crew can do it. So I'm actually going to take Houston here.
Okay.
In a close game. I mean, them being an underdog kind of helps, but close game.
I understand the pick, but I got to go Chiefs. I think this offense looks fantastic. This defense is only continuing to get better and better and better. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. They're an experienced defense against a young quarterback who has been good, but I've got to go Chiefs.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it makes sense. All right. Monday Night Football, last pick of the week. Seems intriguing. The now Mitchell Trubisky-led Chicago Bears +3.5 at home, hosting the Minnesota Vikings, potentially with Sam Bradford. I still think, no matter what, we talked about this before with Latavius Murray, who's been one of my favorite running backs to watch. I think the Vikings still pull this out and cover. Not a ton of proven of a track record out of Trubisky. The big lights of Monday Night Football, I don't necessarily think drown him out, but help him either.
No, this is my cold hard lock eliminator pick of the week.
Even though we both got eliminated.
After we just what?
Even though we both got eliminated last week.
I know, but still, I got to pick my cold hard. I think everyone was pretty surprised that we got that elimination game occurred. But I got to go Vikings with or without Sam Bradford. This defense is good. This defense is good, and yep. I think they easily smoked the Bears on Monday night. I don't think it's the right move to start Mitch Trubisky simply because you're going to start him on Monday night against the Vikings. That's a tough spot for any young quarterback, particularly one who's starting his first game and who has so much on his shoulders. So I'm going Vikings here as well. They're my cold hard lock to win this week.
Yep, that's definitely a good pick. Yeah, and if I had to pick a cold hard lock, that's definitely a good candidate. But I'll try to.
It's a tough week to pick one, by the way.
Yeah, I'll try to diversify out of you. I think I actually picked. Because you can still on the ESPN, they still let you continue,
which is fun, by the way.
Continue to pick. Yeah, it is fun. So you can kind of to prove all the haters wrong, if you will. Looking through this, I almost want to go with. I think I might have picked Detroit, to be honest. But I'll have to go back to the tape and look at it. But I think Detroit's is a good pick there, especially at home. We talked about that before, but a good one at least if you had to kind of pull one out and kind of get a team that you don't want to pick in divisional play. The Lions are a good play there.
Right. That's it's one of the hardest weeks. I couldn't find anything that made me like, oh, we have to do, it's really hard to pick a cold hard lock this week.
Oh, it absolutely is. But I think that's going to do it for us with the NFL. Before we wrap it up, I know people that are listening to the podcast version have already heard us talk about college football, but you are traveling down, doing a little bit of a scouting report for us this weekend at Clemson. Give me your take on that and one other game that you're looking forward to. Well, I think I know what it is. But
I think real quick, I don't know if there's any way to not think at this point that Clemson and Alabama are 1 and 2 to me by even a wider margin than say Oklahoma.
Easily.
Clemson's defense is otherworldly good. And I think it's going to be terrifying to play them. And I would love to see those two teams smash heads together. So that's definitely a game that just to see them in person, they should absolutely hammer. I mean, hammer poor Wake Forest. It's a 21.5 point line. So, yeah. I'm going to tell you, though, there's a couple good games this week. There's some ranked opponents playing each other. I think the game to watch, and I've been picking on them all year, but I'm going to take them again. Penn State visits Northwestern, who hung in last week. Now, Saquon Barkley looks like the #1 overall pick. He's incredible.
Yep.
But I am fascinated to see them visit Northwestern against a great coached team up there, the Wildcats, to see if they can dominate because they really haven't yet. So I'm pretty interested to see how that game turns out. 2 weeks from now, Penn State's going to play Michigan. Are they already looking ahead? They bet a 14-point favorite for the #4 team in the nation, playing a 2-2 Northwestern. That's not the line that I would normally assume it would be. So that's my game. And I know you're going to talk. I know you've talked about it previously, but is there a game this week that you're loving and looking forward to?
Yeah, there's a number of them that I would love to be at. Obviously, you're at one. That'd be fun. Death Valley seems like an awesome place to go down to. One is actually on right now. Top 25 opponents: Louisville, right? NC State. NC State actually leading in the third quarter. For me, though, it's one of those things where this weekend has so many intriguing lines, and you talked about with Penn State, where there's teams that you almost got to kind of watch out for. Going to Chicago, like you said, tough to match out at. The one, obviously Michigan's a big one to look at. One that I think is going to be game day. I think that's TCU hosting West Virginia. West Virginia back in the rankings after losing that opening weekend to Virginia Tech. This could be a shootout. It's a 67.5 line. 67.5 line for the over-under in terms of total points. Will Grier finally kind of getting it together. So we'll see. I mean, we've seen TCU's defense play really well. And we'll see how that game goes. It could be a bloodbath. TCU is a almost 2-touchdown favorite there. But you love to see some high-flying Big 12 games, and this is certainly the start of it. Both of their second games there. One I'm a little surprised about, and I'm sure that I'll probably talk about this and with Third and Girl, or if you're listening to the podcast, I probably already did. Ohio State 31.5 point favorite against Maryland. Maryland has actually been a little bit of a surprise for a lot of people. I know Ohio State, they're kind of been on a little bit of a tear since losing to Oklahoma, but it's a lot of points to give up.
I would agree.
A lot of points to give up.
Yeah, interesting game. I mean, I think we're starting to get into this point where we need we're going to have some really good games coming up, and I can't wait for them. This week, I wouldn't say it's as strong as some upcoming weeks, but we're getting close to some really big games. And so definitely excited to see what's coming in college football. It's just turning out to it's probably going to be one of those years where it's just going to get wild. We saw it last week. Washington
October's.
State upsetting.
Yep. October. That was in September, but we'll still lump it in.
September.
October's magical matchups. I talked about this on the baseball podcast with Greg a couple days ago. October arguably wins best month of the sporting year. Yeah, great college football. Hockey, basketball are back. Football's really getting into the swing in the NFL. You had the U.S. kill the rest of the world in the President's Cup that ended in October, so we count it. It's a great month. It's a great month. I'm excited to see how it all goes. Obviously, stay in contact with us on the social medias, on Twitter, and I have updates from Matty D down in Clemson.
Let's go.
I will be basically watching sports all day. I'll actually be at the Sixers podcast on Saturday and the Sixers preseason game tomorrow night, so keep an eye out for that. Let's go Flyers, though. They're about to start, so we got to wrap this thing up. Stay tuned if you are watching live for the next part, the college football part with Third and Girl, probably coming in a little bit. But if you're listening to the podcast, this will do it for us. Matt, thank you as always, my friend.
Brother, let's go. Let's go Flyers. Let's go
Flyers.
Sixers. No one get hurt in the preseason. Can't wait to see JoJo on the court. And most importantly, let's go Birds, baby. Let's go.
Birds. That'll do it for the NFL portion of the Funvee Tailgate from my man, Matty D. I am the G-Man. We will talk to you later. Matty D is about to go play some Madden while he watches hockey. Dual screen it.
Double it
Talk
up.
to you later, guys.
Peace.